I am super excited to introduce our guests. We have folks here in the house joining us all the way from Brooklyn, New York. Anthony Riddle has been in community media and public access for many years, starting back in the 80s at People TV in Atlanta, then in Minneapolis, followed by Manhattan Neighborhood Network. While we were here fighting for public access TV in Philly, he was the president of the Alliance for Community Media, and he joined us in that fight, testifying in city council to the importance of public access and helping us convince our electeds to do the right thing. And now he is the VP of Community Media at BRIC in Brooklyn. And next to Tony is Alease Annan, and she is on-air promotions manager at BRIC. Alease has been a marketing professional, media educator, writer, and TV producer, and a lifelong resident of Brooklyn. And she began her tenure at BRIC here in 2013. I'm so happy to have you be in community with you both today, and thankful that we have this technology to make this possible. And I couldn't think of two better people to help us kick off the celebration, because Alease, you came up with this idea, right? You founded Community Media Day. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about why you felt we needed to designate a day for community media.
Well, I want to take the focus off of me. Like I came up with the idea, but I got the blessing of Tony. I ran it by him. He was like, heck yeah, let's do it. And we sat down and he's like, just make sure it doesn't, we had to pick a day. It's like, let's just make sure it doesn't fall on a wonky day. And so we came up with October.20th, checked in with Mike Wassenaar, president of Alliance. Actually, at first it was going to be Public Access TV Day. And then Mike wisely pushed us to make it Community Media Day. But I also want to shout out Shelley Wolf and Matt Schuster, who, they're just incredible. Like, there's no way. You can have an idea, but you don't know all the things, like how you help to bring it to life, how you get proclamations, how you do all of these different things. And so they were instrumental, along with Tony and Mike, with making sure that we were actually able to make it a thing. So yeah, it's not a one person thing. It's collaborative with those four people, I think, five, and many more.
So Tony, why do you think it's good to have a day where we designate and lift up community media?
I was just actually on the listserv, the Alliance for Community listserv, community media listserv, a few minutes ago, and I noticed that people are all chiming in from around the country with the various events and the different really creative ways in which people are celebrating, in order to bring it in front of their community. And that's actually really good, because internally with all of us together, that really makes it feel like we're in a community, and I find that's really important. But, I was also talking with some other folks here at BRIC, because, BRIC is a media arts center, not just a community media center. There's multiple things going on here, and was explaining, about the origin of Community Media Day, how it really originated with BRIC and how Alease pushed it and so forth. And it actually makes a change on the way that they see what we do, because in some ways they just see us as, the folks that are here in Brooklyn doing this work, but it really helps for them to look at it as part of a larger movement, as part of a larger community of both large cities like New York and small towns like I won't even name any of this. Because somebody's going to
Framingham, Massachusetts, or something. Yeah.
All towns like Boston, all
All right.
Ooh, shade on Community Media Day. No.
Oh boy.
And actually, if folks are tuning in, like, when we say community media, and I think we know what that means, like it means something to us. But if you were going to explain community media to someone, what would you say?
I would say, the first thing is, you can explain what community media is. It's a place where the people in the community are able to talk about what they have in common, what they have in the ways that they differ, and to be able to share with each other, what their cultures, their interests are, their visions, and so forth. But I also like to emphasize that we get caught on the media part a lot. When we talk about media, we could be talking about television, radio, podcasts, YouTube, Hulu, whatever it happens to be. But the real emphasis is actually on community. And so, when people talk about, oh, you work at that television station, I say, well, yeah, it's a television station, but what we actually do is community. What we actually do is we use the processes of production and the means of distribution to bring people together into a community. Because, you think about it, it's like you have all these diverse interests and they don't always get along, in real life, but you can bring them all into the community media center and there's an immediate appreciation of the value of the difference and the value of tolerance and being able to get along with each other. So it's a real practice of creating the kind of community that we want the greater community to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alease, since you are really in kind of the marketing promotions line of BRIC, how do you talk about it? How do you, because so oftentimes I introduce myself and I tell them I work at a community media center and we have a television station and a radio station. They say, oh, well, how many people watch your station or how many people listen? And I'm like, well, it's not about that. It's really about, the relationships and the community that we build together in doing this work, lifting up voices that you're not going to necessarily hear other places. Is that sort of a similar approach to you? Like how do you talk about it, Alease?
I think it's probably maybe 3 or 4 words. So like if I'm out at an event speaking to someone about who we are, what we do, I describe it as a place for education, opportunity, access, distribution. Well, yeah, education. Yeah. Well, no, can't forget community. I gotta play off what you just said, Tony. I messed that up.
It's a community for these 4 things. No.
Okay. All right. All right. There we go. It's a community for these 4 things: education, opportunity, access, and distribution. So that's how I would describe it. I try to so I don't lose their attention in any way.
I'm gonna use that. That's actually really good. I have a tendency to kind of get lost in my sentences, and so having something really succinct, I think, is good. I like that.
But you guys, don't you have people power
media? Yeah.
I mean, that's I never forgot that. Yeah. That's always been, and I didn't even have to. I can hardly see that there. I remembered that from years ago, even being in Philly for an ACM conference, and how you guys have that center, the bright pink.
Yeah, on the front of our building.
That's powerful. That's good stuff right there.
Thank you. So every community media center or public access station has its kind of own personality, way that we do our work, how we kind of work with our community members. Like, tell us what you do at BRIC, and is there a particular vibe? Like, what's popping at BRIC right now?
Okay, so right now is a good place to start. So we actually have BRIC Jazz Fest going on starting this evening, the next 3 nights. So it's really high-level jazz entertainment on 2 different stages here in the building. As I mentioned, BRIC is a media arts center. So we have media, but we also have performing arts and contemporary arts, which is like visual arts and so forth. And right now, they're setting up a stage down in the art gallery. There's a beautiful show going on with Rodrigo Valenzuela, I think his name. Mm-hmm. Beautiful show. And that's going to be the backdrop for some jazz musicians that are playing tonight. So that's contemporary and performing arts, but we're also capturing it using video. So we have all of our disciplines in there working together. And so that's a little bit different. It really comes back to that same notion that every access center needs to reflect the community that it's in. And so we're very different, for instance, from Manhattan Neighborhood Network, which is, right in the middle of the busiest part of New York. And then you have BronxNet, which is, the borough that's got the biggest chip on its shoulder, but for good reason. Yeah. And, so they're very, very strong in developing a personality of for the community, a personality that's, positive and strong for the community. And you've got Queens, which is the most diverse place in America. There's so many different kinds of people there. And so they serve that community. And then Staten Island, which is like, it's amazing. It would be the biggest city in your area, except it's sort of a suburb here in New York City. And so it's got a really distinct personality of its own. And each one of us does it in a little bit different way based on what the needs of the community are.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing that I think is so exciting about the fact that Brooklyn Free Speech, the public access station in Brooklyn, is based within BRIC, which is this tremendous arts organization that folks might know for like Celebrate Brooklyn, right? The big outdoor festival and all of those kinds of things it comes out of BRIC. I wanted to ask, like, in your name, you say it's Brooklyn Free Speech. Why is it important for you to put the emphasis on the free speech aspect of public access?
I think it's important for us that everyone has a voice. We strongly believe that everyone has a story, everyone has a path, everyone has something that they have to say, no matter where they fall, no matter where they are. We want to create opportunities for people. I think that's just who we are. That's embedded in our DNA. Started in 1988, 1991. We believe this deeply. So I think that it was just natural. I wasn't here when it was started, but I can imagine that it was just a natural thing for it to be in the name, because that's just what we want to push forward for the community we serve.
Yeah, and we want to be clear about it too, so that if there's any question, which there always is at a public access station, there's always a question of like, is this right? Should we be showing this? Who's in charge here? Why isn't anybody deciding these kinds of things? And we want it to be clear that, these are the voices of the community. We do preach responsibility to some degree, but that's for the individual to practice. We don't exercise any control over what people say. We like to say we have the loaf rule, since you like these 4 things, no lotteries, obscenities, advertising, or fundraising.
Okay.
I got that from Atlanta.
Okay.
But, that's pretty broad. And of course, we practice free speech, but free speech in Brooklyn is going to be very different from free speech in Manhattan, Kansas, and so we have to reflect the community we're in. It's pretty broad. But, we respect the fact that it's going to be different in other places as well.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's important. And I think it's important for us to claim that, because I think in some respects, free speech was being seen as being something that was really just making space for a lot of hate. And I think it's important for us to be like, no, free speech is giving everybody a voice. And so anyway, I've just always really appreciated how you all have stuck to that and said, it's about having as much speech as possible. So,
and think about this for just a second too. It's like you have the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment is actually not free speech. The First Amendment is actually like think the way you want to think, and so whether that's freedom of religion or freedom of speech, or freedom to congregate with the people that you think you need to congregate with. It's really like the thought that for us to be a vibrant society of human beings, we need the right to be who we are inside our head and to be with other people that we think are that way. And that's why it's first. The Second Amendment is there to protect the First Amendment, really. But, it has not much value in and of itself, but the First Amendment is really important. And so that's why we have it in the name.
All right, cool.
I also want to jump in a little bit of what Tony was saying. I'm just glancing up at our TV channels of what you said about hate speech. I would invite anyone watching to tune into our network and for yourself. You can go to bricartsmedia.org. We have 5 channels. I'll also shout out BRIC TV. Brooklyn, we have 2 TV networks at BRIC. So we have BRIC TV and Brooklyn Free Speech TV. Tony is head over both networks, BRIC TV and Brooklyn Free Speech TV. I represent more Brooklyn Free Speech TV, but right now I'm glancing up at our networks, and we have a show that I really love called Que Tal. where you can learn how to speak Spanish. That's on channel 2 right now. So if you go to brickartsmedia.org/2, so it's not the word brick with the K, it's BRIC media.org. And then on channel 4 or 5, our HD channel, I'm not sure what that is, but it looks good.
So we're literally showing a Vincent Price movie called House on the Haunted Hill.
Oh,
which I actually called playback. I was like, why are we showing this? But as it turns out, it's what do you call it?
Public domain.
Public domain. And this guy shows public domains films, and I remember that it's really horrible.
It is the season, so that makes sense. Tony, what keeps drawing you into community media? You have been here.
Okay, so I come from a community that's been outsider. My father is an artist, and I grew up around like tons of artists that were in the Black arts movement, and they were really robust about the fact that art needed to be able to make a change in people's lives, and that it needed to be positive, and that it needed to have some relevancy to the things that are happening in people's lives. And so for me, it's sort of a natural transition to come to this, to be able to do this, to make this available, because we talk about free speech, but we don't talk about free here, but really it's like free here too, that there needs to be the right of the audience to be able to hear these things. And so I just feel like America is always boasting about being the land of the free. And it's got this amendment that says you have the right to have free speech. And damn it, they're going to live up to it. Or they're going to have to say we're not about that. And that's why it's important for us to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. Before we leave, if you could talk a little bit about something that's coming up in 2023. Alease, what's going to happen?
It's the conference, the annual Alliance for Community Media Conference, which we are just, the whole crew here is just over the moon about it. It's happening in Brooklyn for the first time.
Yeah, first time in New York.
First time in New York, and they chose here. We are just so proud.
Well, we are hopefully going to be bringing a bus of folks up from Philly to visit you all at the end of June. If folks want to find out more about BRIC, again, can you tell us the website?
Well, before we do that, I just want to, if folks want to find out more about the conference, I think it's allcommunitymedia.org. Is that correct?
Yes.
For the Alliance for Community Media Conference, I think it's happening. I am not going to mess this up.
June 26th through 29th.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
I think Tony has it, 2023. So if you want more information about that, we didn't want to neglect to do that. But if you want to find out more info about BRIC, which we really, really hope you want to do, you go to brickartsmedia.org and you'll find out more about Jazz Fest, or BRIC Jazz Fest, which Tony just spoke about. You can find out more about the exhibition that's currently happening at BRIC, which we would love for you to come to. I think it's open Wednesdays through Sundays, 11 to 6 maybe. I think I got that right.
We've got Poetry Slam.
We've got BRIC. Oh, Poetry Slam is so popular. So fun. Oh my God. Okay. So if you saw one of my favorite movies is Love Jones. It's like that. So it's like you come in and you have a blast, you have a good time, and there's all kinds of snaps and good times, and it's free, FREE. You will have a blast. And then, of course, Community Media BRIC TV and Brooklyn Free Speech TV, we invite you to watch, and of course, our classes. So our classes range from $3.99 to $150.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
So you can go to our website, brickartsmedia.org/classes, to learn all about the courses that we offer. We offer Da Vinci, we offer video editing with Premiere, we offer
all that good stuff.
Photoshop.
Yeah, Field Studio, podcast.
All of it.
Nuke. If you know what Nuke is.
And we also have online courses. So even if you're not in Brooklyn, you can be included in.
All right. Well, it's been great to be in community with you today on Community Media Day. And I can't wait to come up there in 2023. It's been fun.
Looking forward to it. Hopefully sooner than that.